Hello, I'm Pedro and welcome to the homestead. In my experience, growing strawberries is not particularly difficult. However, maintaining them through the years can be a little challenging. A few years ago, I made a video that I called Permaculture Strawberries, where I featured this very patch where I'm sitting now. When I planted those strawberries, there were a few things that I wanted to accomplish. The first was to populate these swales with strawberries that were going to work as sort of a ground cover. The second was to use the walking paths or the ditches on the swales as an area that I could use to create compost with very little work on. And third, I wanted to have a system or a crop of strawberries that we could use year after year. I'm glad to say that after 5 years that we've done that, this patch has been incredibly successful, has been incredibly productive. And so I would like to show you some of the things that we are experiencing and explain to you how those things work. From my perspective, I'll refer to this experiment growing strawberries in a permaculture setting as a success. We wanted to have a permanent system that will replicate itself over the years, and that's a positive thing. We've accomplished that. We wanted to use it as a self-sustaining system in that it will generate its own fertilizer. We did that. And we wanted to be able to produce enough fruit to keep our family nurtured. We've accomplished that. Well, let me state what we have not accomplished. We didn't get those big, super big strawberries, and we don't get them. And I think we only got some of those very big ones on the first year. However, most of the fruits, well, we get some regular sized fruits, which we will consume, and a lot of the smaller fruits which we typically will freeze and save them for juices or smoothies or for cooking or for jams or jellies. So size is not really an issue for us. That's perhaps the only downside that we'll encounter on this. On the positive side, we have been able to have a significant harvest every season. Last year, for example, out of this patch where I'm sitting now, we got to consume a lot of raw fruits and put in juices and all that, but more importantly, we got to freeze about 25 pounds of fruit. That's significant. This area is relatively small. Another important part of this has been the ability to reproduce the plants. So what we do is we get the fruit, and once the plant has passed its fruit-bearing stage, it starts to send out all those side shoots, those runners. And so what we do is those runners we then tend to propagate and use them right in place. We remove the old plants, and the runners will get a lot of those, which we could start. And actually, I could potentially start some new patches and perhaps better quality fruit that we could potentially use for market. And for what I understand, strawberries can be quite profitable in the market, in a market gardening situation. It's one of those things that we love around this time of the year, to have people over, especially families with children, and let them go on the strawberry patch and harvest and eat all they want. Children absolutely love that, and parents do that, and so we love doing that. It's part of our Christian mission here at the farm to bring people, to serve people, and that's a great way to do that. It's a fun activity and it's a delicious activity, so we like to do that. This patch has very low maintenance in it. As a matter of fact, it doesn't have any irrigation on it. We rely mostly on the permaculture design here. It's a very gentle slope, and we've been catching water from higher ground And through a system of swales, we capture water and slowly move it through the system here. So there's no irrigation on this, and that's how we designed it originally. What I did do was these deep ditches on contour, and that's why the patches have these wavy, curvy direction, and the walking paths, the ditches in between the swales or the beds. The beds are about 4 feet apart. The ditches are pretty deep, but part of my intention originally was to fill those gaps, those ditches, with organic matter, leaves, grass clippings. We put a lot of wood chips on it. Those things are going to absorb water. When it rains, the water is dissipating, I should say, spreading through this area, and it's going to be retained by all that material there that in turn will break down. And then at the end of the season, we will use that material that is in the ditches, and we put it on top of the beds, mulching it and fertilizing it. It's a very simple process. All it takes is for me to go with a shovel and shovel those things on top of the plants. The plants are resilient. They will come back up in the next year. And so that's such a wonderful thing. And now in the spring, so we did that last fall. Took about 15 minutes to do the thing. And we put wood chips and I think leaves that we collected here on the farm, and threw all that thing to fill the ditches again. And so now, a few months later, we can come dig that, and we get this really absolutely wonderful compost. It's full of worms, and that is something that at this point I could put back on the strawberry patch, although we put a little bit of extra compost earlier this spring, so it's actually looking pretty good. But I could use that compost and put it somewhere else. Last fall, I also experimenting putting some rhubarb roots on the beds, and so part of the unwritten permaculture principle, although we talked about these things in permaculture all the time, creating guilds, right? Combining different species together. But the unwritten principle is this, generally speaking, things that go well on the plate also tend to go well in the field. And so strawberries and rhubarb, which is a very well-known combination, tend to grow very well together, or at least has been our experience here. And so the beauty of it is that right now is mid-May. Both strawberries and rhubarb are in season, and so we just come and harvest strawberries and snap some of those rhubarb and get some delicious desserts or jellies and jams and all of those things. Another positive outcome of experimenting with these things. And so the question, is it worth growing strawberries in a permaculture setting? I would personally say absolutely yes. It's a resounding yes. This crop has very little maintenance required, and we have been able to multi-purpose this space to do some other things, to reproduce plants, to create compost, to grow some other species. So couldn't be happier with the result of this experiment that we started some 5 or 6 years ago. Really pleased with that. More importantly, we are grateful to our God that ultimately is the creator of all these things that we have around, and who provides us with the ideas and with the resources to carry on these things and doing the way that He intended nature to operate. So very grateful for that. I hope this reflection has been useful to you, and I hope to see you back. Until then, may God bless you.